In the wise words of Matthew McConaughey, all right, all right, all right. I've always wanted to use that line. All right, so this evening, All In Magazine is interviewing the rock star of media, Mr. Media, Rich Trigger Bontrager. Hello, how are you? And thank you so much for being with us.
It's great to be with you, Kira. It's wonderful to be. And All In Magazine has got some amazing stuff so far. I'm thrilled and honored to be a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Starting it off and finding the people that I've found. I mean, some of them have come from referrals, and then some of them I've just bodaciously emailed myself. I emailed Dame Judy Dench today, but let's not talk about that now because
Oh,
now we have you. And I think Sandra D was the one that introduced us, Sandra D Robinson.
yes.
And I want to start there because if she hadn't introduced us, if she hadn't come along and said, "Hey, can I get my friend Rich to come on our call and talk about our book?" I'd have never known you were even a person, and that would have been a shame because you are incredible and what you do is incredible. So I'd like to just do a little introduction of who you are and what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, so Rich is an internationally acclaimed media personality, widely recognized, and I can totally add testament to this, as the master of microphone. I mean, what a cool title! Ah!
And I did not dub that me. Someone else dubbed that me.
That's even better though, because when somebody else gives you a title, it's a good nod.
And it rolls off very good.
Oh
Master
yeah,
of the microphone.
master of microphone. It's very orchestral. It's like you've been in a symphony, the master of microphone. He's an international public speaker, talk show host, producer, and media brand expert with a career spanning over 35 years. Trigger, I just love your nickname.
That's how it all got started, too.
Let's come to that. Leverages his vast experience to consult and coach aspiring individuals on building their own media brand and empires. And as a media brand expert, he guides strategic planning, content creation, and audience engagement, helping his clients navigate the ever evolving media landscape and achieve their goals. Now, everything that's there is 100% on point, but what you do is so much more than that. Let's be real. You heard cats.
Yes.
You bring people together and you give them the opportunity to feel like they can sit back and take direction because when you take over, you lead so beautifully. Does it feel like that when
Thank
you're
you for that.
doing
Well, because people just don't know what to do. One of the hardest things for people when they're on camera, on microphone, is their hands. They don't know what to do with their hands. So a lot of the behind the scenes coaching helps you figure out what to do with these things because most people naturally talk with their hands, but they know it or not. They don't even know it very often. But there's little gestures, the little nods, there's little things. But when you go on camera, for some reason, people go, "Oh, what do I do with these?" And so there's a lot of that stuff, like you said, get them to relax, have fun, be natural. And then after a while, and I had this with one of our book launch people, Anna, after the interview, she let me know, she goes, "I got lost in it. I was so nervous." She said she was so nervous. She got lost in it. And then she didn't even know what she said because she got in the flow. And that's my sweet spot, getting people in the flow so they don't think about their hands, their face, their clothes. They just roll. And that's where the beauty is.
and you do it so smoothly. We were in the back room, we were in the green room while you were doing the launch for our book, and you wouldn't have seen what was happening, but everybody was talking in the WhatsApp group about how smoothly you roll from question to question, even navigating the brutal internet that was thrown at you from left field. And yet
Only in Ireland.
oh,
Ireland was a problem. It's all you people.
so did you just say Ireland is the problem?
I did for everyone on the internet to know. No,
Damn.
but that's part of show hosting and show hosting is something where people see this and they think, "Oh my gosh, it's so smooth, so easy." What you really need to know is what goes on off screen behind the scenes, the best of the best know how to manage the garbage off camera, the technical problems, and smile and still have fun. There's stuff always going on, good, bad, or ugly. The best of the best will make you think like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
When we're juggling 10 things in our head at one time and still execute, that's a specialty that separates the average from the best when it comes to this crazy business.
Well, you're most definitely not average. I have seen what you've done, and I think I was most excited. I just have to bring this up because I really love her. When you said you had just finished up doing Rhonda Swan's book tour and the way that you had done that. And I got so giddy with excitement because, especially the way you were explaining how you were popping all over the world to all of these different people. Will you tell the audience what that's like? What's it like pulling all that together?
Yeah, so Rhino Swan had a 3-city tour with their book launch, multiple authors again. They were going to New York, Miami, and then LA. We did the middle section in Miami with a live stream, multiple channel execution again, like we did for your book launch. Most of the people were in Miami together, so it was a little bit easier, but we literally said, find a chair, find a room, and we are going to make a circle. So they lined up in order of my script or what I pre-planned, who was going to talk to when, who was going to talk to next, and they lined up in the order that I told them to. And then they would literally talk in the chair like you are right now. They would exit stage left, and the other one would come in and circle in and drop down. And we did a complete circle of rotating people. And then in between it, we jumped out a couple of times at other people that were not able to be there live in person, but then we had them backstage ready to go. And I would toggle off of this screen, bring in the other screen, talk to them for a little bit, and then go back to Rondo's live in-person group in Miami. All that is highly scripted. That is behind the scenes planning. Who's going to be available? Who's going to go what order? What's the best story sequence? So people are enthralled by the story, not just by the person. So there's all this going on. And then my job is to orchestrate it, like you said, to make it seem like this is just flowing and it's fun and you're curious and you get involved. And then by the end, everyone celebrates. So we have the girls coming on together at very first, just say hi to everybody, have all that pumped up excitement. We talked to Rhonda first, and then she introduced the first lady, and then we just did that rotation. At the end, all the ladies came on back together, including the ones that were in other locations. We had everyone all multiple locations celebrating the launch of the book together.
So
and then like your event, we took the live content, chopped it up, and they got micro interviews out of the mega interview. So each individual author has something to use themselves.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's seeing the way it works. And I was in a shop the other day and I was explaining it to the paint guy. I was looking for specific paint. And I was saying to them, sometimes I know the process of what it takes and I know the end result, but there's a gap in the middle, right? There's a gap. How do you bridge that gap? And there's an expert for that. There's always going to be an expert for the bit that you don't know. And to find you to come along and you just build up bridge and you create this slotted in gap and suddenly everything is just, oh, there's symphonies and it's all so easy.
Well, like you said, I've been doing this for 35 years. I started in radio. So I did a Timberwolves draft party 2 years in a row. We were not in Minneapolis. We were in Rochester, and we were the only other station allowed to do this. So we had a party going on live in this mall. We were following the draft selections and then talking about the draft selections. And we had a couple of people from the Timberwolves there as special guests. All of that was orchestrated and planned on radio. So you didn't see me, but we orchestrated the same stuff. So it is in the planning behind the scenes. Most people think this is where it really happens. It's the months, the weeks of planning beforehand. So when something does happen, like we had technical difficulties, then you're prepared to go, okay, change, go here, come back, and no one's nervous because of planning behind the scenes. That's where the real secret is, But most people just think about this.
Yeah, yeah. This is the nerve-wracking bit for some people. And so
Yeah,
this is the only part that they're focused on. But we saw how much pre-planning went into this from the minute we got in contact with you. And all of the stuff that has to be created. And you and I had a conversation and we talked about Tony Robbins. Do you remember I said that first time? So 2020 hit and Tony pivoted and he brings up this, I don't know how big this thing was. He must have like bought a warehouse.
it was almost a 360 room of video screens. Yes, and it was a giant warehouse, basically.
Yeah. And it was so tall and he has like thousands of computer screens that he's seeing into people's homes. And I saw you and I literally said, this is like being in a Tony Robbins thing because it's so unbelievably professional. But of course it is. Will you tell me how you got into this and how you've made it as professional as it is?
Well, again, the radio years really helped because I honed my skills, as you said, the master of the microphone, sports play-by-play, talk show interviews. So the voice, the personality, the persona was honed then. It's the other skills I kept learning as I transitioned into the TV side. COVID was a big game changer for everybody out there, even though we've dabbled in video, we've done YouTube, we've done that. For those of us that are really in this game, COVID forced everyone to go a quantum leap. We're easily 10 years ahead of the video game than we would have been if we would have stayed on track the way we were, easily. And Tony's a great example. He literally jumped in and said, I'm going to change how we do this now. So I jumped on and began to doing more live stream interviews, multiple channel interviews, like we did for your party. We had 22 authors, most of which punched into at least one, if not two other channels with my channel. So we were streaming on like 70 different channels at one time around the world. That's a major game changer. And Restream and other platforms are helping to make this easier. But then you learn the technology side, and some people are geeking out the technology. They think that's it. You have to have the personality. So what we did behind the scenes with your team, we told them we're going to have an intro, a slight teaser. We're going to talk about their book, ask them several questions, and we're done in 8 to 10 minutes. And everyone knew that would be the plan. The secret sauce in that is I tell everybody what the 2 or 3 easy startup questions are, and then I weave it through it to go where the story goes. Every one of the authors said something that was unique to them that I dug deeper in to make their interview unique. That's not in a script. That's not anything you can do but to be in the moment. And then, like you said, transition out of it, make it sound like it naturally flows, and go to the next person in another country. And we were in 7 countries that night, by the way, too.
Yeah. And there were so many language differences. You know, we had Norway in the house, we had France in the house, we had obviously England, we had Ireland, we were crossing all kinds of borders and segueing so smoothly.
But that's really where the game has now changed. And this is now the new standard. If you're going to do TikTok, YouTube, anything, and if you really want to do it, you have to learn the technology side. But what I coach and teach is the personality side. You are the brand, you are the voice, you're the image, you are the personality. So a lot of people can go on camera and do stuff, but if you really want to shine, you got to own this box like it's a stage, like it's truly TV studio. You have to come alive with a personality and be consistent in that. And that's some of what you're talking about. You looked at my other material and said, he's always rocking the stage the same way and it looks fun. Let's do this with him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's amazing to see. And so, okay, so I want to ask, what is the thing that makes you tick the most with all of what you do? Like, what gives you the biggest buzz?
The biggest buzz really is the interview of the people. There is always something that comes out, and I've got a phrase, I've been using it for years, but I mine for the gold. Everyone has gold. We have a nugget, we have a story, we have an experience. And when I get into these interviews and when I see the smile and I hear it in their voice, I can hear the excitement of, they asked me the right question. And that's where the gold fun. And then I go back in for a deeper dive. I'm like you right now, smiling. I am inside my heart going, this is where the fun is. This is what we need to get out there. And afterward, normally, people will say, I was never going to say that on camera. I was never going to tell that to anybody. And you got me to say it tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the best part of my job, is listening to people and pulling out the best nuggets.
Mm-hmm. And you ask great questions. That was obviously, we were talking about that as well. You have a knack of following where the person is speaking into and then finding the piece in there and then pulling out the question from it. That's a skill, and that's a honed skill.
A lot of people that interview are worried about the next question, and they're worried about the word talking. They want to talk and interview, talk and interview. Mm-hmm. And we always have 10 questions in our head. The trick is, and I tell all my guests before every show, this is highly unscripted. I had 3 questions that I maybe will ask you, depending on how we launch off into it. But the thing is, the listening skills, and then how do you follow the listening skills? You have to listen for the transitions. You have to listen for the dramatic pause when they get choked up. You have to listen to them and know that that's a button to push and go deeper. Or, and I tell my guests beforehand, what do you not want to talk about? What's a no-fly zone? And I talk to so many other speakers and interviewers that don't ask that question. I want to make sure I'm not going to ask you about the divorce. I'm not going to ask you about the kid that's in trouble. I'm not going to ask you about the drug problems that you don't want to cover, because I want to set you up to be the shining star, the big of the rock star. So I put you at ease backstage first, and then the rest of it is listening skills and just having fun.
Yeah, and that's key. That bit there is key, because if people aren't having fun, then it's really difficult. It's like pulling teeth.
I tell people, if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing this.
Me too.
And I've had interviews where it's been like pulling teeth. It's been the interviews like, can you loosen up just a little bit? You get a little crack of a smile of who you really are. And those are the hardest. Yeah. When the people literally trust and fall into my hands and go for a ride, it's the coolest thing in the world. I've had people literally tell me in the middle of the shows, like, I'm having too much fun. Do we have to stop?
There's no such thing as too much fun. Okay, so if that's what gives you the biggest buzz,
yeah,
what's the least favorite part? What's the thing that ticks you off the most?
It's the business side. It's the dollars and cents, the business. I am a creative. I am a people person to the nth degree. My mom used to say I had a girlfriend in every city. When we were kids traveling around, I'd meet different people at the KOAs, and I had a new friend everywhere I went. So I've always been that way. But it's the business side of the dollars and cents, the counting, make sure you sell yourself, promote yourself, and have the dollars equal what your value and your worth. And that's where I've had to learn the hardest. The hardest curve is, Rich, you're a commodity, you're a product, you're an expert. You may love doing this for free, but don't do it for free. That's really the thing that drives me crazy.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, I'd finished up in a business I had opened, and it hadn't gone the way I had wanted it to go. And I thought that all I needed to do was be an awesome coach and rock up and do my awesome job as an awesome coach. And that's all it took, right? That's all I need to do. And
they will come pay me automatically. They will.
Yeah, because I'm amazing. And then someone turned around and went, no, Kira, you have to learn about business too. And I went, what? I have to learn more?
I had a business coach that said, you need to put a price tag on you. And I said, okay, I do an event. He said, no, the starting point is you. You are the commodity. They buy Trigger. They buy that automatically. So you need to have a starting price of what you're worth the minute you start a project, the minute you do anything. Then you have the price for what they get for the project. Nice. And I really wrestled with putting a price on me that they have to say, okay, I'm getting this guy and here's what he's worth. Because again, I have too much fun. I know who I am. I know who I'm not. I make no bones about it. But he literally turned it around to, They want to pay you what you're worth and they want the best. So be the best and put that price tag down.
I love that. And that's very different than anything I've ever heard, because you're starting off by saying, this is what I'm valued at. The work is extra.
Yeah. Because like you said earlier, you could have anybody do those 22 authors in 3 hours.
Mm.
But there is the personality, the question, keeping that smooth level head while you guys are having technical problems and trying to, beam back in. You're paying for that automatically when you know you hire them.
Yeah.
That's something I had to learn as an automatic commodity, because not everyone honestly has that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. All of that there that you have it's a skill, it's a natural, it's innate, it's part of you. You didn't have to go to a school to learn how to be who you are. That's who you are. And so that's, people automatically gravitate towards that. Like I said, you feel safe with somebody who knows what they're doing.
And it's true, one of the toughest things still, when people call, email, and everything else, and like, I like your stuff, you're great. Then I have to go, well, by the way, here's where we begin. It's just the hardest thing to put a price tag on you. But in the end, like you guys, Rhonda Swan, many others, they've sat back and gone, couldn't have anyone else to do this, honestly. And it was so much fun to work with it. That's the give back.
Yeah.
Yes, I made money. Yes, we had fun, but they had fun and they got what they wanted out of their event. Yeah. I'm tickled pink with that.
It's a win-win all the way.
Well, and people don't realize there's a showmanship to this. I coach people and I tell them there's a little bit of acting here. And I have done some acting way back in the day. I learned about theater and things like that. This is not just turn on a microphone and say, hi, Kira, good to meet you. Now let's talk for 20 minutes. There's a theatrical show that goes on, and you have to think in that scope of what's the entertainment value? What's the information value? What's the just natural have fun value? All that goes into figuring out how to have a good show, a good production. I tell everyone, you're on a show. It's not an interview. My shows I call discussions. I try to make it as laid back as we can. And it's a discussion, but it's a show. And that's where the entertainment, you have a little bit more energy, talk a little bit louder, you have the gestures. You have to do something to grab the people and say, it's not only good stuff, but it's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that you're calling them discussions as well. I think that that's nicer. When you say interview, sometimes people go,
oh, no, they always do. No matter who they are, they always go that way. But I tell people every show, grab your drink.
Yeah.
It's people sitting on the back porch. We're having a conversation, talking about our favorite subject, and there accidentally happens to be a cameraman. And people are like, oh, I can do that. That's what we're doing here today. And that's the magic of changing an interview into a discussion where the personality can come out organically.
Mm. So tell me something then. Who has been the best, funniest, wildest, and they might be 3 different things, interview that you've ever done?
Ooh, wow. Oh, I got thinking for my arms like, so, okay, Sandra D, we mentioned.
Yeah.
Sandra and I have done multiple shows together. We've interviewed each other. We've co-hosted things together. Sandra and I actually have fun. And every time we get to work together, it's magic. We do each other's sentences. We do overlap. We do know that off-camera cue that we know where we're going to stop, where we're going to finish, who's going to lead in. And that's a sweet spot. And that's one of those partners that I know if we ever do anything, that's instantly there. And that's special and fun because you do not get that. I've worked with a lot of partners over the years. You don't get that shorthand. You don't get that she's in my head, I'm in her head, and we can both have so much fun. So that's one of them. Way back in the day, this was radio only. I create a lot of my own shows. That's always part of the business too, is the creative side. So I was at a radio station in Rochester, Minnesota. We cover the Minnesota Vikings. And I created the Viking Training Camp Report. I went to our station manager and said, look, I want to go to Mankato, go to the Vikings practice every day, get my press pass, And I'm going to go twice a week and interview coaches, the players, and talk about how they're preparing for the new season. And I want to chop these up into micro shows. Now, they said yes, and they didn't know how well it was going to work. So I go over the man code. I'm introducing Denny Green. I'm interviewing the tight ends, the receivers, Brad Johnson, the quarterback, all these NFL rock stars, Little Rich, in his early 30s, going there and then taking my little tape recorder back. It was all cassette. Go back to the studio, edit these up, and I had an intro and outro, and I did these little interviews. It got so popular so fast. We were on 5 stations every week with 4 shows, not 2 shows.
Wow.
And we did for 3 years. So they got to know me. Besides being the guy that came to training camp, and they got to know me. Then I got to know some people that worked for the Vikings, and then I got admission to the Vikings at any game I wanted to. And the same thing happened to the Minnesota Timberwolves. That type of reputation breeds itself. I did the same thing with the Timberwolves, went and did that, and I got to meet Kevin Garnett and major NBA players. So those are absolutely fun. But again, the fun is not just doing the interview, to see where it grows and blossoms and what doors open up.
Yeah, no, that must have been incredible to be part of something like that and then get so involved in it, to build relationships of trust where you're actually able to have the banter with the people that you're interviewing. It's a different level.
Oh, yeah, it truly is. And then the Viking training camp, which I commented on earlier, was an outgrowth of that. When we did the NBA draft party and the Viking draft party, when we did those events, I had already built the reputation. We called them up and said, "We'd like to do this." They like, "Well, Trigger, if you're doing it, yeah, we'll help you out." For the NBA draft party, they brought the Humvee down for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We parked it in the mall. We gave away T-shirts and balls. Crunch, the mascot, was there. And then they drove me home in the Humvee at night, came to my front door and said, "How many kids do you have? What do you want?" And they threw me merchandise as a way to say thanks for promoting us all night during the draft party and doing such a cool job. I didn't ask for it. I didn't need it, but that's where the outgrowth of the relationship of the media brand takes over.
Yeah. And it's
It becomes very cooperative.
Yeah. And it's not something that you're looking for. It's something that just happens organically because of how you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's not a skill that you went to college to learn. That's something that's innate inside of you. You see, I love how when people do what they're meant to do. So you're a creative. I get that. I'm the same. And the businessy bit can sometimes eye roll, snore. But when you're in your zone and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're so focused and zoned in on that thing, it's like breathing.
Well, and the other thing, it's got to be about the person. A lot of hosts make it all about them. You have to let the story be about them. It's easy to slide into me. And every question you ask them, you give a story about yourself. You have to stay on them and let them shine. My mantra is I help people shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate them and their brand. It's not about me. I get to help them shine. When you stay in that zone, that's also where the magic happens, because people realize, wow, look what he's doing for me.
Yeah, I was wondering when that phrase was going to come in. That's where the magic happens. I was literally thinking about it from the beginning.
Well, that actually came out. I'm in Dallas in a studio with other people. I know a couple of them. I don't know the main guy too well. We sort of know each other. And he goes, "Trigger, what's your secret? What makes you work?" And I was about ready to give my standard blurb. And this other gal did the car seat arm thing, stop. She threw her arm in front of me, stopped me, and she said, "May I tell him what you do?" And I'm like, "Sure." Now, I have no idea what she's going to say. She goes, she makes people shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate their brand. The guy rocked back. He's been a broadcast executive, big time news guy. He sat back in a chair and he goes, "That's exactly what he does. I wanted to know if he knew it."
Oh, wow.
And that's how that started, because someone else realized what I was doing, how it was done, and they crystallized the wording of what was happening.
That's incredible.
That's when the cool stuff happens, when someone else takes you to the next level where you want to go because they see it and you don't know quite how to do it.
That's a big level, isn't it? That's like a
Yeah.
real level up. Somebody else is seeing it. Coming from that perspective and at that level, before that level or since then, that sort of moment where I recognize you, has there ever been an interview that you've done where it's been really awkward or really difficult or really intense? And what did you do?
I've had a couple where I've had a shutdown too.
Wow.
One of them I was doing with a partner. We were co-hosting an event, and a highly recognized global name was the interview guest. We were supposed to be talking about podcasting and talking about the techniques, and they have a global podcast. And they went in political danger zone, and they kept turning every question into that. We were live, and we had to back out of this very carefully because he is highly, highly recognizable. And I let it out. I was not the primary host. I was a co-host, but it was going so tragically. We were both trying to figure it out. I just finally said, look, hey, I know you've had your medical procedure today. I know you've been the doctor. You're probably a little bit worn out. Thanks for being, and because we had tried to get him back online. We would try to get him back on topic. Would not do it. So we gracefully bowed him out, turned off his camera, and we went on. Now, we turned it into a big teaching lesson because it was a painful interview. We turned this into, because we had a live stream audience, and this audience was like, crap. I said to my partner, what can we learn today about what happens when an interview goes sideways? What can we tell our audience about how you handle, maintain composure, ask questions, try to renegotiate? But then at the end, when you pull the plug, how can you turn this into something good? And the chat box blew up. The questions were coming because they were like, this is gold. Saw it burn and crash live. And now you're going to tell us how you maintain your cool and how you made it look okay to bail out of a bad situation. That was a bad interview that we salvaged that now the people that were there are still asking me about.
Incredible. What a teaching lesson, though. But how clever of you to be able to segue that and turn it around in an instant.
Yes. Yeah, it's just one of those things that we had to figure it out because it was going so bad, so rapidly. You either just cut it and say goodnight, everyone go home, and they go, that was a train wreck, or I turned into a teaching moment. And the teaching moment was so powerful. That's a much better turnaround than just cutting the cord and letting it go, which I've seen people do.
Yeah, no,
I've seen people do top level interviews and the guest gets angry because the host is being a jerk or asks the private question that wasn't supposed to be answered. The guest will take the mic off and he'll walk off stage. I never want that to happen. I want to turn that bad into something good. And that was the pivot we could do that night.
Yeah, no, that's incredible to be able to do that fast. And like you said, sometimes when something is turned in a direction that you don't particularly want it to be, because it's not about that. If politics is meant to come up, it's meant to come up if it's been discussed beforehand or if that's what it is. But if you've come to something with specificity and then it becomes something else, eek.
Well, and that's why there is the pre-screening of coming on the show. What's the topic? What's your theme? What are some? I do have an intake form that helps me set up the beginning of this. So where do you want to go? What's the theme you want to talk about? Is it your book? Is it your movie? Is it this? And then I have a beginning point where we're going to go. If we get in the weeds, I know I can get back. But there's, remember, we're going back to that because I'm not going to go off in the weeds. And some people, like this gentleman, wanted to set us up to go someplace we didn't want to go. And we figured it out very quickly. He was on an intentional target that you had to get out of.
You'd wonder why people are like, was he having a bad day or did he intentionally want to actually just bring you to the weeds immediately?
So that's a great question. The power of the media is you are on. We knew we had a great audience. I'm well known. My co-host is very well known. This guy's an international celebrity. And he knew he had the platform that he could rip and go and try to do what he wanted to that night.
Mm.
There's a danger of you never know where your interview is going to go. And then there's also, you have to know your get out of jail plan. You have to have a plan to say, we're out of here, we're moving on. I have used technical difficulty as one of I have done the, hey, we're having some problems there. I don't, sorry. Let's have you come back another time. I'm very sorry. And I've gone to another guest, a co-host, and bailed out with technical difficulty. And believe me, that's done far more than you realize on network TV and everything else. The technical difficulty is not always real.
Here in Ireland, we could get away with that so easily with our brutal internet. Is it a thing, you know, just on the topic of politics, but without going down that route, is it a thing that celebrities or people who have platforms, do they actively not go near it because of what it could do, or do they just not want to?
I'm currently having a conversation with two people about that very thing and planning to have them on my show.
Okay.
The question comes up of not if we can talk about it, but how we talk about it.
Mm.
It's the how.
Mm.
The politics, especially here in the United States, is a hot buzz, big thing right now with Trump just getting reelected and things like that. Everyone's talking about it. The question is how you talk about it. There are those that will go to the MAGA side, the deep roots of all the radical change that Trump is espousing to. And then the other side that is going to rip everything apart no matter what the man says. The thing is how you talk about those things. So I always go from, as a journalist, I will be neutral. We may talk about those things, but you will not hear me pick a side in any way, shape, or form. And I try to keep my guests in that side of share your thought, but do not declare a side and put your flag there, because you will tick people off. And the celebrities, the Hollywood people, some of them have done that. And you've heard Robert De Niro and other people, no matter if you agree or disagree, he got beat up. He was very bold. He was very strong. So can they take that hit? Do they want to take the hit? That's the question. Can they talk about it? Yes. But it's the how. And some people are better at that than others. I've realized, and this is an important time in our country, we do need to talk about it. I'm going to toot from this way, but I'm going to stay out of the explosive, very divisive voice. Some have done it well, some have not done it well.
Yeah, you can see the ones who are doing what you're talking about, who are coming at it from a neutral sort of knowledge point of view. So they're saying what's happening on both sides, and they may be leaning towards one, and you can kind of understand that, and you can see it and you can hear it, but they're not pushing that. There's not an agenda behind what they're saying. They're just giving the facts, and
people want that information. People want, the celebrity star has a platform, they have the stage, they have something that it's good to have them weigh in sometimes, but they don't all need to declare who they're going to support, who they voted for, what thing they're pro or against. But they can be someone to help make a good debate and a good discussion so we can think. I think of journalism as, let's open up the box and have a good discussion and still go home as friends.
Yeah.
More and more we're seeing it. You open up the box and it's a feud.
Hot.
You want. Yeah.
All over the place. I said this to you, your politics are so much more fun than ours are. they're just way funner. With that in mind, actually, so talking about debating, have you ever been in a space or hosted a space where there was a debate that you had to moderate or modulate?
Actually, I've done several where I've been the moderator.
Wow.
You set the rules, the guidelines, and you let people point, counterpoint. I actually find it fun when it's the right people. It's really fun because they will take jabs, but it's not the offensive jabs that we've often seen as of late. And I feel the freedom of speech, the right to debate is a powerful thing. Hear both sides, counter sides, but you do have to make sure you maintain neutral. You as a host cannot take sides, not get angry. You have to navigate that with a very delicate, because you'll hear something and go in your mind, dumbass. But you cannot say that as the host, as the MC. You need to move on and just move it on to the other side. And you can't lead with your vibe of take it away, rip them. Now, you can't that way. You have to say with like, thank you, Ted. That was great. Susie, what do you think about what Ted said? And you have to stay there. And that's becoming so hard because we have these talking heads now, these opinion news people. They're not journalists, they're opinion news people, and they want their opinion plus the other two people's opinion as well.
Yeah, you can see that. I mean, even in the last few weeks with what's going on with The View.
Oh, yeah. The View is a prime example. And they're currently reshaping The View because how the election went. They're going to have new faces on there. And so we're going to see a turnover. View was one of those shows. I've shared a clip of Matthew McConaughey on some of my shows.
Yeah, I saw that.
Matthew McConaughey about running for governor of Texas. And then they asked him about the gun law. He cut Joy off. He looked dead at her and said, this is not the place or the time to ask that question. He turned his back to Joy, went to another host and said, now, what else do you want to talk about? He wasn't going to let that happen. He wasn't going to spoil a good interview and get pulled into what they were trying to set up to have it be negative bombshell, make him look like a jerk. I applaud him. I think it's absolutely great to keep the composure, be very strong about that's a no-fly zone, and you knew it. You know, I bet they knew it backstage. It's a no-fly zone. And then he just went on with the interview gracefully.
Yeah.
That takes skill, planning, and being ready for the land bomb and knowing how you're going to handle it in advance. I think it's beautiful.
No, it's funny you should say that because last night I watched a clip of multiple different celebrities being basically ambushed.
Yes.
And the way that they came back, and they're so diplomatic, and they're you can see on their faces that this wasn't okay, but they're so measured in their responses. And it's interesting watching that measuredness. And
that clip, that soundbite, when they got him, if it blows up, they will replay that clip forever and ever. And that person, that celebrity, that author, they'll get barbecued. They will get roasted because that clip now is out there forever and it's played. I mean, TikTok, you'll scroll through and you'll see it like 20 times in one afternoon, the same clip. Because it's gone viral and it's the thing they wanted to get out of them. They wanted that reaction. Don't bite on it. Don't go for it.
Yeah. Is it ever worth it though? Is it ever worth it to push that if you don't get the response that you want?
As an interview, I will never push it. Like I said, I will always show respect, let my people shine, be always seen in a good light. That's just my personal line in the sand. I've had guests on that if I wanted to go and screw, I could have done it. But my line is, I want this to be good, quality, fun. Even if I disagree with you privately, personally, I'm still going to do a great show and we're going to have a great time.
Yeah. That's the sign of a great media person.
Well, everyone's got to define their own legacy of what they're going to do with it because there's so much tape, so much video, so much audio me out there. If I'm going to do this for a long term, again, 35 years and even longer, I've got to know where I'm going and not going to go. So I know that's my limit. I'm just not going to do it to somebody.
No, I love that. If you were speaking to somebody who was coming up in this space, in the media space, in the media journalism, print journalism, anything where it comes to interviewing other people, what kind of wisdom would you give them?
Do your research. Dig for something that is known about them, but not highlighted about them. So what I'm doing with my show right now, I'm intentionally letting them know in advance on the intake form, if you have a charity or a cause I want to hear about, because that's often their passion project. Often in the interviews, the celebrity style interviews, you get 5 minutes and maybe 30 seconds to mention your pet project, your charity. I want to give you 10 minutes to talk about your charity because what happened is they light up. They're like, oh, thank you for asking me that. Let me tell you about this. And you get inside their personal life and heart. Now it's not the actor. Now it's not the author. Now it's the human projecting their heart's desire on the world. Look for things like that. Find out what their hobby is. Find out if they, have done something that isn't in their natural space. Let's say there's an author. Have they ever done their cooking? Oh my gosh, I love to cook. Let them go and talk about their favorite meal. Now you're getting inside and you're off the predictable. And that's the goal that really goes long term.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And you're right that giving them that space and time to talk about the passion project, you can see people come alive in that.
Oh, absolutely, because they haven't been asked or they've been told, and they've all got earpieces. They ask the questions, and you got 30 seconds, wrap it up. I'm doing Toys for Tots this year. It's really great. I hope you can give. Got to go. Bye. They just don't give them though. But when you give them that leeway, it opens up another door. They now know you're really interested, you're trustworthy, you're given the room to play. You are building credits of favor for the future. Also, every interview you do, that person, maybe your best conduit, it's the next guest, higher level guest, someone that's top level, because they will go away and go, you didn't shaft me. You asked incredible, insightful questions, and I got to shine. I'm going to share that and let other people know they need to have you interview them.
Which is massive.
Yes.
Because I don't know how often it happens that journalists are referred or media.
Yes. Behind the scenes, many are, that gets to the point of like ABC calls. Hey, we want to do an interview. Well, if I'm going to be on ABC, I want XYZ to interview me. I won't do it with the other people on ABC, but I will do it with XYZ. There is that standard that people know and expect, and there's a trust level in there. And you can blow that trust in 30 seconds, or you can have it go. And that's what I do tell many interview people, many young students, like you're saying, they're watching the bad interviews and the bad media skills right now. They're watching them twist the knife. Go the other direction, and you will be much more in favor by other people, and they will love you and want to do work with you.
You can see it in photographers as well, in paparazzi. Certain paparazzi, because of the way that they're respectful, will get the first photos. They'll be given the opportunity to take the shot. They'll be called. Except the ones that run after the cars and try and shove the lens in the window, they're not the ones. It's not the vibe.
Well, and it's also true with print. You're in print. You know this. If you do the interview story and then after you say, we're going to edit it, put it together, we'll send you a copy of it. Well, everyone reads their own interviews. I tell you that firsthand. Yeah. And if they have a publicist or a PR person, they'll read it. When they get through and they see that you did a chop shop job on their interview, and you put words in your mouth, you move pieces around to tell your story, not the story, you now burn a relationship. You now burnt that down to the ground. They will not go back to you again. And they will tell other people you're a hack. It's an all media. You can either do it right or do it wrong. And if you're coming up in the business, you have to, again, set your standard. I know what my standard is. I set this early in my career. What are your standards? What are your values that you're going to be as a journalist, interviewer, broadcaster, and own those? Many of the best broadcasters you will watch, they have those. I've sat behind the scenes. I've sat in trailers on baseball, football games and talked to them. They have something that they have said, I will not cross that line.
Yeah. That's a conversation I had before as well. It's what is the line? Where is the line? I'll do everything, but I won't do that.
Yes.
Meatloaf.
Well, and that includes your video images, your talking points, your photo shots. What is the image? You are the brand. This is the area that I drilled on in. You are the brand. You are the brand on camera, off brand, in Walmart, in Kmart. You are the brand everywhere. At the baseball game, you are the brand. And whether you like it or not, it's true, especially today with the cameras everywhere. You are always on camera. So if you're going to get into this business, you have to realize you have to show up and be consistent. Now, you can still have fun, wear a baseball cap, do whatever you want. I do not dress like this every day, but this is the standard of what I am. I'm a journalist. I'm a professional interview. I want to look the part. At the same time, when you're having fun out in the real world, you're in someone's video clip.
Mm.
If you go off screaming and yelling at your kids and someone realizes who you are, they're going to post.
Yeah.
You are the brand, and you can make it or break it real fast. So decide behind the scenes, what are your values? I have my value list. One of my values is fun.
Mm.
One of my values is integrity. So you have to know what your values are, so you will do that all the time.
Yeah. No, I love that. I hope everybody who's listening, especially if they're coming into this space, is taking notes, because it's well worth taking notes from somebody like you. I'd love for you to tell the readers and tell the listeners, or share with them, something that you'd like to leave on the timeline that will be there immortalized forever. What would you like to share?
I just got to talk about you're the brand, you're the brand, you're the brand. Don't take yourself too serious, but take what you're talking about serious. There's a difference between the topics, the interviews, the discussions. I want to be professional and respectful as I can. But again, like I said way back at the beginning, I know who I am. And my family knows who I am. They will call me on the carpet. I am not all that anymore. I'm not the greatest slice of cheese in the world. Be realistic about that. You can buy into the press, you can buy into the bylines, and they will tell you things that you are the best thing in the world. At the end of the night, you're just you. So don't buy into that. Don't let the ego roll. Be great at what you do. And then after that, just let it be. And the other thing that I'll say, and I've had this happen several times in my career, if they ask you to defend your job, defend what you said on camera or mic, don't. If you said something that causes them to defend it, it was controversial, it got in their face, it caused them to struggle with something, let it speak for itself. Because the more you try to protect, the longer you're giving them more content to roll you up and make you look like an idiot.
Okay.
Yes be yes, your no be no, and keep it that simple.
I love it. Simplicity is key. And I'm with you on the fun all day, always, everywhere.
I have got to have fun, and it has to show here. I mean, we haven't talked about the whole thing, but it's not just you're doing an interview. Your body has to be in the game. Mm-hmm. I laugh, I joke, I have a great time. I lean in, I use my hands. You have to show that you're in the game, whether you're an interviewer, whatever is natural for you, or whether you're the guest. You have to be in this to win it and show that you're having fun. And it's contagious, I tell you. People will see it. No, my gosh, Rich, that was the funniest, best, interesting thing I've ever seen. They will get pulled in because you're pulling them in by naturally being you.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And again, all of that was being talked about in the group. You were like the hot topic of conversation all the way through that whole entire party. What is it that you're doing at the minute that you'd like to tell people about? Is there anything that you'd like to tell them that you would like to encourage them to get in touch with you?
Well, I'm always doing media training, and I am working on the master of the microphone. I want to help you be the master of your microphone. That is an area that I specifically coach. It's not just the voice. It is the voice, but it's everything we've been talking about. The gestures, the body language, the on-camera presence, the personality that you want to portray. That's really mastering the microphone. And there are podcasters, streaming TV people now that are trying to figure this out. I coach that. I can take you from where you are to where you want to be and transform you, because you don't know the tricks you don't. You don't know the things that you naturally rub your head every 2 minutes. And I've been with people that do that. They literally like, they just every so often they just go there and go there, and it's like you gotta really stop it. So those are the things that I really will take you on the journey to make you the master of the microphone in your own sector and help you flesh out your brand, flesh out your personality. And I have a blast because I get to know you. I get to know you in a way that very few people do. And once you learn to trust me, you have so much fun doing it. So yeah, if people are interested, contact me, Trigger at rocktostagemedia.com. Trigger at rocktostagemedia.com. There's always other stuff, but that's the really thing. But because you kind of led with that, and that really is what people are trying to learn now. How do I master this thing called the mic, and what do I do on camera?
Well, I would give you 10 stars of a recommendation easily. And I think if anybody has anything that they want to advertise, especially if anyone's doing any books, any book launches, anything like that, he is the person to get in touch with. And I can tell you now, you genuinely can sit back and trust him. I said it to him the first time that we got together. It feels so nice to be able to sit back and relax and let somebody do what they're an expert at doing, because you get to sit back and just show up. Thank you.
Let me give comments to you and
Yeah.
your community.
Go for it.
Your community was great to work with. You and Lee and Sandra as we worked together, but your community knew what they wanted to do. They had a plan, they had a vision, and you behind it as a publisher of working on this conglomerate book with different authors, 22 authors from around the world. You had a plan, and it was easy to insert into your plan and help fulfill the video side of it. So kudos to you. You set your people up, and then you told them, Rich is going to ask you to do things. He's going to have a plan and process. Don't argue, don't bucket, do what he says. So kudos to you for setting the stage right for me to do what I do, because believe me, I've worked with a lot of people. They don't always do that.
Yeah.
You have a great group, so congratulations.
Yeah, no, Lee was really on it. Every time you'd send something, Lee was on it. Just let's get this done. Let's do this. Just go with the flow. Just do it and everything will be fine. But it was. And that was the whole point. It's that trust level. I have absolutely loved having you on. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. And I know you're going to come back. And I just had an idea as well, but maybe I'm not going to say that idea now. I'm going to tell you and see what you think after the fact, because I think this could be really cool. I'm grateful to you. Thanks for being here. You rock the stage, literally.
Thank you, Kira. Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
All right.